Area headlines at 6 o'clock, and the hunt for Sarah Sharif's father takes a dramatic twist as her 5 siblings who travelled to Pakistan with him last month are discovered at their grandfather's house.
As the death toll in Morocco reaches almost 3,000, the country is urged to accept offers of help from other nations.
A major study finds that female surgeons working in NHS hospitals are subjected to a culture of sexual harassment and assaults by male colleagues.
Good morning. Some Wilko stores will close their doors for the final time today. After a deal to save the retailers, 400 stores fell through. The chain will disappear completely from high streets by October.
The Wilko name is set to disappear from UK high streets after a rescue deal for the chain fell through. Now, there had been hopes that a last-ditch attempt to save it would succeed, but now all of its 400 stores across the UK will shut by October. It means redundancies look likely for all 12,500 staff. A court in the UK has heard that Daniel Khalif may have used bed sheets to strap himself under a lorry to escape from the Wandsworth prison. The former 21-year-old soldier has appeared before magistrates and charged with escaping custody. He has not applied for bail. The German car maker BMW has announced plans to build a new generation of electric cars by investing hundreds of millions of pounds in preparation at its mini factory near Oxford. Production is due to begin at the plant in Cowley in 2026, safeguarding the future of the facility and another factory in Swindon, which between them employ around 4,000 workers.
Good morning. The Union Jacks will be out, the fans in full voice as the Davis Cup, the World Cup of tennis, returns to Manchester for the first time in 30 years. We'll be live at the AO Arena here all morning, and we're going to be hearing from some of the GB team.
A woman who is hoping to become the very first person with a stoma to swim the Channel is more than halfway there.
We met her before, didn't we? Jill Castle. She set off from Dover last night. She's now in French waters. She's had a stoma for the last 12 years after being injured during childbirth.
And of course, we will keep you up to date with Jill's progress. We will have the full story of her swim on the programme tomorrow.
Good luck, Jill. Well, not that she can watch the telly right now.
No, maybe not. But she's halfway there. She's in French waters. Great.
Channel.
Yeah.
So
very good.
Here, a third of medical students in the UK say they plan to go abroad to work, with many not coming back. That's according to a new survey this morning. The Department of Health and Social Care said it plans to recruit and retain hundreds of thousands more NHS staff over the next 15 years. Pubs in England and Wales will be allowed to keep selling takeaway pints after the government extended the relaxed licensing laws that were first introduced during the pandemic. They've already been extended twice and will now run for another 18 months.
An advert has been banned on the London Underground for being too unhealthy as it featured cheese. This is what the advert was supposed to look like, showing the offensive cheese in the middle. Transport for London said the advert does not comply with our advertising policy as it had food high in fat, sugar and salt. Well, a start-up company which made the cheese called the decision incredulous. Adverts for alcohol, though, are still allowed on the transport network. The Duke of Northumberland has been told he should find other ways of funding repairs to his Grade 1 listed Scion house in West London rather than replacing allotments with new flats. A planning appeal is hearing the case after the Duke lost an application to build 80 flats on Park Road allotments, which his forefathers had allowed to be rented after the First World War. Well, Hounslow Council had rejected the plan. Northumberland Estates claims it will help pay for conservation work. The appeal is ongoing. An amputee has spoken of her pride in taking on the challenge of what's called the Red Bull 400, where competitors run up a ski jump in one of the world's steepest uphill sprints. Millie Pickles had her leg amputated 6 years ago after being electrocuted and spending 10 weeks in hospital. She's now become the first amputee to finish the sprint in Slovenia. She spoke to us about taking on the incredible challenge.
I just thought, what on earth am I about to do? I think that's when it really hit me that I'm an amputee. I've got 3 toes on my human foot. I've got shivers right now even thinking about it. And I was also just thinking about how far I've come, because there's a video of me when I just came out of hospital and I literally could not walk up the smallest slope. I was so weak and I just thought about the contrast and how far I'd come, and that was making me emotional.
Look at this morning's newspapers, front pages to start with. This is The Times. They're reporting on the worrying number of female NHS surgeons who say they have been sexually assaulted by a colleague over the last 5 years. We're going to talk about this in a little more detail in about half an hour's time.
The Daily Mirror this morning, their front page headline, has a quote from 11-year-old Anna Pawn describing her panic as she was attacked by an XL bully dog at the weekend. You might have seen her on the BBC last night as well. Shocking story.
The Guardian pictures the devastation in Morocco as rescue teams join what the paper calls a race against time to find survivors in the Atlas Mountains.
And the Telegraph quotes the business secretary, Kemi Badenoch, who says Britain cannot afford to cut ties with China. This, of course, after a Conservative parliamentary researcher was arrested on suspicion of spying.
And we're going to show you an incredible picture now. This is the rescue of a caver who had been trapped in Turkey's deepest cave for more than a week. Look at him. That's one very lucky man.
Being winched out, he's got a big smile there as well, hasn't he? He's American Mark Dickey, who's exploring the Morka cave when he fell ill at a depth of over 1,000 metres. And it's taken 150 rescuers over a week. I think it was 9 days or so, wasn't it, that they spent doing it? But it's all come good. Mark is out and much relief all round. Look, you see the rescue team's taking pictures on their phones of him there as he's winched out. Good stuff.
Very, very lucky man. Have you ever lost touch with anyone?
Yes.
Yes, I imagine you've lost
Deliberately.
it with quite a few people. It's a great story in the papers today about two friends who've been reunited after 40 years apart. This is Bernard Duff, who is now 93, and his friend Barbara Godden, who knew each other when they were 14. Now, Bernard went to the library and began reading a book about Britain at war. Barbara had written a note in the first page of that book. He read it and realised, that's Barbara I knew when I was 14. And found a way to get who'd written the note and found a way to get back in touch. The pair from Scunthorpe in Lincolnshire lost contact 40 years ago. They got back in touch after Bernard contacted the local paper. Barbara said, my first reaction was, oh, it's Bernard.
Does she go on?
No, I think they're now really good friends.
Good,
Nice.
I'm delighted to hear it. It's so nice to hear a story like that where it's like old-fashioned note in a book rather than just like an internet search.
Yes.
Good story here in The Times this morning. Research by the University College of London and universities in Japan as well, looking at how important it is to have a hobby.
Oh, OK.
A hobby?
Several.
OK, well, it says that 80% of over 65s in the UK have a hobby, and they're generally happier as a result. But in Denmark, it's...
Can it be watching television?
Yes, or walking the dog. 96% of people in Denmark have a hobby.
Yes, I bet they do.
They're more hobby-minded. Italy, it's only 51%. But anyway, it said it doesn't matter how old you are, what your retirement status is, what your gender is. If you've got a hobby, you are happier and healthier. And this encourages all of us to do it.
Do you have a hobby?
Driving my children to and from various events is my hobby.
Part-time
I look forward
taxi
to the
drive.
I can, yes, taxi drive, exactly.
It actually says, I've read a little bit about that, and it says the hobbies that are better for you are the ones that don't involve just sitting down. So you're going to need to find a hobby that involves moving. Like...
I'm all right. I did the news belt earlier, standing up, so I'm good today.
The standing up news, that'll do it.
Yeah.
That's our new hobby.